Thank you so much for joining me. I am so excited to share some news with you. The one and only Robyn Europe reached out to me. She wrote me. I shared with you her story not too long ago that she was awarded $11.25 million. Yes, after going against Equinox, a company she was working for. She said that she was fired wrongfully for discrimination, and you have to be careful with the words you use. SEX harassment. Okay, now they had said that she was late 47 times, and that's why they fired her. There weren't an extreme amount of details what I read to you. And there were some people who felt like, of course, she deserved to be fired. She was late 47 times. She could be making up anything. Well, Miss Europe, Robyn Europe, I was so shocked when I received an email from her telling me what happened, telling me the details, and I'm going to read to you what she wrote me. Of course, I wanted to make sure that it's safe to do, and she gave me the okay and the permission to read to you what I'm going to read to you. So, with that said, let me get started and read to you what Robyn Europe wrote me to clear things up about people who felt she might have made things up about the manager and being racist and harassment towards women and discriminating, making remarks about Black women and the hell that she went through on the job, to where she eating disorder she suffered from occurred again, her mental health, everything. So again, let's get started. I'm going to read to you what she wrote me. Okay, so this is what Robyn said to me. Hello, I'm Robyn Europe, and I just saw your YouTube video on my case. I appreciate you giving this attention on your channel. It's been really disheartening to see the media outlets run with this 47 times in 10 months narrative, without mentioning anything else that was presented during the trial. Working at Equinox was damaging and painful, but reliving it in a courtroom full of strangers, not knowing if they would believe me or even care, I was scared. Fortunately, 8 of my fellow citizens deliberated for about an hour and came back with a verdict that said, "We hear you, we see you, and we believe you." I have never felt that kind of validation. It was powerful, and I hope this verdict empowers others experiencing workplace discrimination to speak up. My team was the first and only to beat Equinox at a trial for employment litigation out of many plaintiffs. Meanwhile, Equinox has been running with the 47 times in 10 months line publicly because, frankly, it's a racist dog whistle. If they can paint me as lazy, a money-hungry Black woman who was late all the time, then it absolves them of guilt. First, I was not an entry-level employee or a trainer. Oh, okay. I was the department manager of the biggest revenue center at my club, personal training. Okay, so excuse me earlier when I said training. The only person in the building who outranked me was the general manager. There were 8 other managers at an equal level as I was. I supervised about 25 employees during my time there. And one was Chris Maltman, a junior level manager who had been with the company for 20 years. He regularly told me he thought I should have worked my way up from the bottom and started as a trainer, as though I had not been working in the fitness industry as both a trainer and a manager for 12 years at the time that I was hired. My department pulled in hundreds of thousands of dollars because, regardless of how people felt about my tone, my demeanor, or my refusal to use a soft, sugary language, I just said that in my most recent video about abuse and how people always expect women to smile through the pain and the anger and the hurt, and to always just keep a smile to ease other people's ego. And oh, that's a whole different video. Let's just continue, okay? He says, we worked our butts off. Of note, Equinox claims I was fired for performance issues, but submitted as evidence absolutely none of the monthly performance indicators by which my department was evaluated, or even my complete employee performance review, because that doesn't fit their story. My department met and often exceeded quotas. Equinox, the one on East 92nd Street, benefited from my hard work, and any amount of critical thinking would make a reasonable person say, it took Equinox 10 months to fire someone they claim was late 47 times. What was she, doing to stay employed that long? I was making them a lot of money. That's what. Okay, so far what I've read to you, she said, no, I was not, just some trainer. She had a big position there, bringing in thousands of dollars, okay? My attorney submitted evidence that I contacted human resources multiple times about the racial insensitivity and hostility at my club, and asked how to support my team, to no avail. I also informed human resources several times during my employment and after I was fired that I was being penalized for something. And she put in quotations, lateness, that absolutely no other managers were disciplined for. I asked them on my write-ups via email and on the phone to please look at the other managers' time and attendance records. No investigation was ever conducted. When Equinox turned over time and attendance records for the case, it was revealed that not only was absolutely every manager on staff late a significant amount of times, I was not the most late employee with regard to frequency or degree, or even the second most late, but I was the only manager to receive disciplinary action for it and the only manager to be terminated for it. Managers worked a minimum of 10 hours daily at Equinox as required, but it's not uncommon for a manager to work 12 to 14 hours to hit KPIs. For this and many other reasons, there was no exception at our club that the schedules were strict or rigid. In fact, in a deposition at Equinox, an Equinox area manager testified that management schedules were just, loose guidelines. We did not punch in or out as hourly employees. As I stated, every single manager was late regularly. It only became a problem when I did it. The general manager who sought to have me terminated and who granted the members' request for a white trainer after I objected to it as morally reprehensible, dehumanizing, and illegal, was later than any other manager in the entire club, both in terms of average lateness and the number of incidents of lateness. He never received a single write-up for his lateness and was not terminated. Sounds like she was targeted until a full year after me because teams were downsized during the pandemic. So my direct supervisor, the general manager, who granted a racist request asking for whites only, he kept his job. Christopher Maltman, who called a Black woman autistic during a staff meeting, kept his job. The human resources director, who ignored my multiple emails specifically mentioning racism. The several employee comments on my write-ups that cited bias. And the naming of specific managers who were late more frequently without repercussions. She kept her job and approved my termination. Not only did she keep her job, she testified during her deposition that when Equinox investigated the white trainers only incident, they found that the member had in fact made the request, and that allowing that member to remain in the club and train with whites only created a hostile work environment for Black employees. Okay, so she said they wanted whites only, and many things, and that they didn't get fired, they kept their job and everything like that. Okay, and it created a hostile work environment for the Black employees. And she puts in quotations, but they got that training revenue. So good for the company, right? They got that money. Disgusting. Equinox didn't just ignore racism, they engaged in it because it helped them hit their bottom line and admitted they believed it created a hostile work environment for Black employees, and everyone involved kept their jobs but me, the only Black female manager in the building, and the only person to consistently pipe up about the toxic, racist, sexist environment and the impact it was having on me and my staff. terminated and replaced by a white man. Other things came out during the 3.5 years this has been in litigation that we didn't even know about when we first filed, which were so disgusting. I felt sick learning about them. For example, Christopher Maltman, an Equinox director, the man who hired me, who was in charge of personal training for the entire East Coast and Europe, and who had also been with the company for 20 years, exchanged text messages after I learned that he was a whites only trainer. He had a whites only trainer request had been granted behind my back. Okay. In those text messages, I was described as having a fit, which is misogynistic, and not very charming, which was reference to an episode of Star Trek. Hold on. Which was reference to an episode of Star Trek where Captain Uhura, played by a beautiful actress, Nichelle Nichols, is called a charming negress, and then property. They testified that this was a reference we could never have come up with other than our own. Okay, so she sent me a link to a video that I'm not able to play right now, okay? Let's put that into context. A white director at the top of the food chain and his white friend, who was my direct report, Chris Maltman, were pals for the 20 years they both worked at Equinox. When I was rightfully upset that the general manager went behind my back to have Christopher Maltman grant a racist request I had already denied and reported to Human Resources, the white director and white junior manager thought it was funny to joke about me not being a charming negress. Christopher Maltman followed it up with, "I thought you would appreciate the reference." Because this obscure racist Star Trek clip is so familiar to them that the word charming in reference to a black woman was enough to generate camaraderie and laughter. And the director responded, "I appreciate you." On another occasion, a white member's shoes were stolen from their locker, so Christopher Maltman asked a black male trainer on our staff to carry the member home on your back to keep the member's socks from getting dirty. Equinox attorneys asked the trainer if it ever had occurred to him that the request was made in jest, a joke. The trainer responded. People take little digs at people. You got to have a sharp mind to pick up on it. But a lot of black people, we spot it quick. We're quick. A number of us are quick when somebody's trying to make those type of jokes. We're not slow. A number of us, we pick up on it. We know that. Again, made in jest, the trainer responded without hesitation. I didn't think it was funny. Christopher Maltman and the director are still employed by Equinox. I'm sure a good time is being had by all with these truly hilarious jokes made at black people's expense. Equinox and their attorneys initially claimed that I was fired for time and attendance only. That is all that is mentioned on my record of involuntary separation. And when I reached out to the director who hired me after I was fired, I was told, given the reason, it's out of my hands. Equinox final witness, however, testified they had been talking about my lateness for months because it was an easy way to terminate me. Their final witness, by the way, was a man. This person approved of my termination, had been plotting on it for months, and Equinox trusted him to help them defend their case. So she has a link right here that I'm unable to go to right now. But she says, this was never about my lateness. They needed an easy excuse. I did not walk into that courtroom and say, I was late and I'm a black woman. It is racist and sexist to expect me not to be late. I walked into the court and said I experienced disparate treatment as a result of my race and sex. I showed evidence that I was disciplined and fired for something no other managers were disciplined or fired for, and that Equinox regarded me as a problem because I, the only black manager on staff, wouldn't keep my mouth shut about anti-black racism at my club. Give me a second. My emails, the charming nigrous text messages, the absence of any disciplinary action against other managers for time and attendance, the general manager's direction to grant a racist request I denied, the testimony of Black members of my staff about the racism by Chris Maltman subjected to them at the club, and the countless other pieces of evidence that no one has time to read about. My attorneys came with receipts, but after the verdict, Equinox issued a statement saying that it was vehemently disagreed with the finding and I did not tolerate discrimination of any form. They said they don't tolerate discrimination and all that. Of course, someone's going to say that to try to save themselves, right? Further, in their motion to have the case reevaluated, lawyers for Equinox did not dispute that the racially and sexually charged comments made by her subordinate had occurred, but argued that they were too few to support claims of a hostile workplace. Beyond that, they maintain that the emotional distress by Miss Robynn Europe suffered as a function of her time at the gym was not egregious enough, a legal term, to warrant the amount of money the jury recommended. So there's another link right here that I'm unable to click on. It says, after 3.5 years of litigation, claiming my termination was exclusively about time and attendance, and an entire jury and trial, now they don't dispute my claims at all, nor are they claiming it was just about my, arrival time. They just don't think that I suffered enough to warrant a verdict in my favor. Anyway, I just wanted to write and thank you for even the tiniest amount of support, and I thought you deserved to know some of the things other people have left out, but it is available in the court transcripts which are publicly available, so you don't have to just take my word for it. Okay, she says, this has been an isolating and upsetting process, but I was talking to my dad about it a couple of days ago, and he said, Robynn, there are so many Black women like your mother and grandmother who have been dealing with this for years. You said something and you won. So maybe other Black women will now know they can also earn a check and speak up for themselves. It doesn't have to be one or the other. If my dad is proud of me, I guess I did the right thing. Okay, I'm sorry for this super long letter. Robynn Europe. Okay, so listen, Robynn, that letter, I'm perfectly fine with how long it was. I'm happy to get the word out there. I'm happy to share this with the public who made assumptions about you. Everything is getting cleared up, and there's even more we don't know about, but she said it's all available online through the transcripts and everything like that. And I said they had to investigate to award you $11.25 million, and that this would inspire more Black people to stop taking it if you can prove it. You don't have to take the abuse, the sideways remarks, the not even sideways, very blunt into your face, or maybe people don't think you'll catch it and all of that. You stood up for yourself, and the jury, you won. They saw through it. They saw it. They investigated, and you won. So I hope you take that money. Do live your life. 11.25 million, girl. Go travel the world. Okay, go on a cruise. Go on a shopping spree. Buy your house. Pour into a business you want to do. Maybe you want to start your own fitness thing, or whatever you want to do. You can do it. So I'm happy this happened for you. Thank you so much for writing me. Again, you made my day when you wrote me. I couldn't believe it. So everybody, this is it. You can read more about the story, the news articles, but Robynn wrote me and she told me the deal on what happened, because you just weren't a good employee 47 times and all of that, and the bad mouthing that many were doing towards her. She said something, and I'm happy to have been able to read this letter with your permission. Thank you so much, everybody out there. Let's support Robynn. I thank you all again for joining me. And thank you so much for watching. If you are new, make sure you hit the bell, click all notifications. You'll know when I go live and when I upload my videos. And, check out my videos. I'm sure you'll love it. Thank you all for watching and joining me. Thank you so much. Any stories, anything you want to talk about, my email was right there. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye, Robynn.